Hello everyone, welcome back to another video by clip on my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can prepare your tracks for a mixing session. So there are two different ways how the mixing can be done. One is that you can hire somebody to do mixing for you, and the second way is that you're gonna do it yourself. So in case that you wanna do it yourself, I'm gonna show you how can you prepare and what you can do to have a better experience of making your mixing. And also I'm gonna show you if you need to send, how you can prepare yourself for a mixing session. So if you do your own mixes, it is really smart way if you divide the mixing process from your creative process. This I usually do just by saving the project into another version and prepare it for a mixing. So when I see the track is getting till the end and it gets the final version, and maybe after the first final version, I'm gonna start preparing my project for a mixing session. So in order that we finish our music and that we deliver fast, it's really smart that we divide those two processes of making the music and having the mixes, as that way we're gonna just have a different set of mind, and also having two different projects is gonna be much easier to finish the tracks. We all know that every track, it doesn't have an end and it always have some space for improvement, but in some moment we need to stop working on it and we need to start preparing it as a final version. So usually after I have the arrangement done, even if I maybe change some of the parts in that track, I'm gonna start and preparing myself psychologically in a way of saving it to like final version and preparing it for a mixing, where I'm gonna start bouncing a lot of audio. And as I have saved already to another version, I'll have the previous version with all the informations needed if I need to make some change. So all the MIDI, all the automations, everything is gonna be there, and I'm gonna start bouncing all of it to audio, just in order to make the whole project and release it for so many plugins. So in this project over here, if we can see, if I go to Studio and Plugin Manager, we're gonna see the time in this project having a bunch of plugins already: 13 standard clips, LFO tool, Pro Q, Echo Boy. There is a huge amount of plugins working all the time. Every time I press this place, all of these files is gonna be processed over and over. So I'm gonna try to release this project from most as possible plugins that are out there, and I want to have only the audio. And all of the audio, I'm gonna try to make them shortest as possible without any silence, as that way I'm gonna try to make this project work much faster. While we are in a creative mood, we usually have a lot of sketches, as I call them, so plenty of the test channels where we just draw some melodies, some things that we are just testing and trying. So in this process we are putting a lot of files that are just gonna make our projects to work much slower and gonna be boosting our CPU usage. So from that reason I really want to get rid of all of the processings, and I want to make this project light, so in order that when I start making the mixing, I have this working experience much better. So if I'm getting close, let's say this track is not done in 100% of writing, it still have the last part and I need to do some changes in arrangement from this part. So this is why I keep a lot of MIDIs as well. But as you can see, this section is already bounced in audio and I really like how it sounds. And in general I realized that I won't change it much, so I decided to bounce it with audio. And I probably do have this sequence somewhere hidden in the project, or maybe I don't, it doesn't matter. But a lot of these files that are bounced in audio, I already keep them in VST format with the MIDI, with everything, just it's disabled and hidden in the project. So even those files that are disabled and hidden in the project, I want to get rid of them. For my mixing session, I want to have the best possible experience. I want to have all my slots clear. I don't want to have any processing on the groups. I want to be able to work as fast as possible, and that I enjoyed as much as possible in this process. As if the project is buggy or it's working slowly, and if I have so much automations over here, it's just gonna spoil this moment of working and having the pleasure working. So it's gonna make my mixing session much slower and much more complicated, and therefore I want to bounce everything in audio. So for example, the kick, I'll have the kick. Cubase has an amazing options for this. It's called rendering, not bouncing. I'm using the term of bouncing, but generally it's rendering, because bouncing in Cubase is usually, if I bounce this, it will just make from all of these single shots, it will make one audio. While the rendering, it's gonna use channel settings over here, all the settings from the channel strip, insert, EQ, and fader volume as well. So this kick is having some of the processing on the insert over here, and it has some setup on the EQ and then fader, and then I'm sending this one to the group of kick in the bass. On the group of the kick in the bass, I have a filter where I'm making the arrangement of automations over here, where I'm filtering kick in the bass together, and after that I have some of the processing. So on the insert over here, I have some of the arrangement automations, and I have some of the processing like EQ, and I try to see with oscilloscopes how they look, as well as the Pro L2. So now I want to get rid of all of these plugins except the filtering. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna bypass the filter, and what I'm going to do, I'm gonna select this one kick, and I'm gonna go to rendering in place. I have a shortcut for there, but just for you who don't know this option. And in Cubase we have the 4 wonderful options for rendering. First one is a dry, it's a similar as a bounce, which doesn't do much. The channel settings, it will bounce everything what's happening on the channel only. So the insert, EQ and the fader settings, while the complete signal is gonna do everything as the channel settings. So all the insert, EQ, fader and everything that's happening on the group. So in this case I want to use these options, and then we have another option, it's a complete signal pass post mastering. So it will render this sample through everything where it goes. So from its own insert to the EQ, to the sends, to the fader, and then to the groups, and then from the groups even from the mastering. So if I bounce this one, it will be rendered with the limiter on the master as well. But I do not want to do that because it will go again to the same limiter, so I don't want to use that. So I'm using this complete signal path, and I'm going to render it. So now I have the kick which is rendered without any plugins over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm gonna send it once again to the group of kick in the bass, and then I'm gonna render the bass line, and I'm always trying to render as shortest as possible. So this is pattern, this is what's repeating. So in this area of the bass line there's no signal, there are 1 note which is reduced with the first harmonic, and then 2 full notes, and this is only the area which I want to bounce. So I'm gonna bounce only that one. And I won't be lazy, I'm gonna recreate the whole pattern once again. So my patterns are always similar. I always merge those files in 8 bars patterns because it's the easiest way that I can duplicate them later on. So I have the bass line and I will extend it like this, and I'll have this 8 bars long. And now I can select kick and the bass together, and I'm gonna extend them through the whole of the track. And I'm gonna start zooming in and just muting in the areas where they wasn't heard, and I'm gonna recreate that super fast. I have here something that's different, but it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna go in details, but I'm just gonna show you what is my approach in this. So now I have the kick and the bass which are rendered to the all settings, so I'm gonna send the bass line again to the kick and the bass. And what I'm going to do, I would delete those 2, but because this project is still not finished 100%, I don't want to delete them because I'm going to use them as well later on after I finish this video. But now from the insert I'm going to get rid of all of those plugins over here because I don't need them anymore. And what I'm going to do, because of the arrangement, I'm just going to turn the filter again, so I have all these automations working again on the kick and the bass. And I'm gonna do that for all the samples. So let's say the hi-hat over here, so I'm gonna use this one, this hi-hat over here, I'm gonna render it, okay, and then I'm gonna duplicate it, I'm gonna merge it in 8 bars block again, and I'm gonna zoom out, and I'm just gonna set it wherever it was again, like this, and then make it shorter. So, and then I'm gonna delete this as well. So I'm gonna try to keep it in smaller pieces as possible. Then after I finish that, I'm gonna go File, Backup Project, because Backup Project is gonna make it like a new project, just it will pull out the files that are only needed for that, and I'm gonna keep it separate from the folder that I used to work before as a creative part, and that way I'll have really good working project with 80 or 100 tracks, it doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna spend time just in working. And also if I need to replace something of the files or I need some corrections, I can always open the previous project and I can replace some of them, fix them, and then use those files and drop inside this project. So this way is the best way that you have separated, like psychologically, that you have a writing session and writing project, and after that you are creating the mixing project. And it will also help you, like especially this process over here where I'm bouncing, actually rendering and clearing them and extending. I have a feeling like I'm cleaning up this project and it really feels good. Maybe it's because my OCD or something. Also in this project I did this really fast, but I will double check all of the waveforms. I will see if everything's correct there, if there's something missing or is there some error. So basically you are preparing, you are checking them, you are rendering them, you are releasing the whole project, and as well double checking of what's going on with that sample. This is good for so many reasons that I cannot explain to you in one video, but I will use the main ones. It's already happening to me that I've been asked for some older tracks files for a remix, and then I'm opening the old projects and I'm missing so many files or missing so many VSTs that are not in developing anymore. So you will face that as well, and then you won't be able to open some of the older projects. So every track when you finish, I advise you that you keep only the stems, or you do it like this with the small pieces, which is the easiest and the best way. It does cost you a little bit more and cost you more of your time, but there is something special in this process, and I really love to do it from time to time, as this moment of cleaning, and then this is a silence moment when you are not listening that much, but you are still preparing yourself. Then the next day when you come, you won't be feeling that much tired of that same project, as the project will be fresh in a way, and you will start and you will have this again, this boost as when you started your track, and you will see the results are coming much better. I still don't know exactly what are all the reasons why this is the case, but in my opinion, when I do this, next day and next 3 days the mix are done. Now if you are hiring someone else to make your mixes, then the story will be a bit different, because we all use a different DAWs and you will need to send stems. So when I said stems, usually because all the arrangements and everything, you will probably need to export track by track and in full length, and this is the only way and the easiest way how you can send. We can also use the OMFs, but Ableton does not support the OMF, and some other DAWs do not support OMF, so it's not that easy as well. Now usually the prices of mixing are vary, but usually they are connected to the number of channels. If you have a track like I have this one over here, which it doesn't have 91, it has around 87, because I made those extra bounces right now, so it increased it, but it's around 88 channels so far, and it still has some of the things to be done, but I'm not sure will I add anything. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So if you are sending 88 channels for a mixing, it's gonna be too much. It's gonna be too much to send those files, as we're gonna send the stems in a full length, and it will just do not have the sense that you send this much of the audio files. So how you can make that lighter is, for example, I have here like one single shot that is in a 3 channels, just to make it much better. So this is a short melody. So it have the same melody in 3 different channels and 2 different colors on it. It would be stupid if you send all 3 separate. So this one is one sequence, you can send this one, but you can send it also with this percussion shot, because they are not playing in the same time, as you can see over here. And if I have this percussion over here in full length without being interrupted, or that any other sound has been playing while the tail of it is going, and then I have the melody without being interrupted, only those 2 will be enough. So even if they were later on played in the same time, it will be enough for a mixing engineer later on to divide them into different channels, as he can use this file where it's only this one on solo, and he can make it to be in another channel, and then he can do the same, and then he can manipulate with those 2 different sounds in the same time. So let's say that from all of this, let's say 90 and he's 53, so almost 40 single shot channels, and I'll make this in 15 maximum, and then I'll use and make the whole drums and everything else. So let's say till 30 is really okay to send it to mixing engineer, maybe a bit more, but in general more than that it's gonna be too much of cost for you, and it's gonna be super crazy. Now we come to the point, like in Cubase we have this batch export, but this batch export will export directly only from the channels themselves. So let's say the kick won't be exported with the automations on the filter through the group, so I will need to export kick separately. So I will need to do solo and go export separately, the bass separately, And then if I have the automations on the whole drum groups, as I do have over here, I will also need to select all of them separately. And I believe that this way is the best way to send to mixing engineer, as that way you will be sorting your samples and then you can try and make a project with only the stems and see does it sound the same as your project as well. So this is not so easy process, as we are working with so many channels and it can be tiring. But in general, I really believe that we should use only like soloing the channel, file, exporting that one, but do not forget to turn off if you have anything on the master chain. Also, the things that you should be careful with is the reverbs. If you are sending to the mixing engineer, the reverbs can destroy the sound a lot. So be careful how much of highs you are setting on your reverbs, because if you have, or if you boost the highs on your reverbs, they can destroy the mix a lot. And honestly, I really believe that if you are making any reverb on mixing, that you remove them and then to write a detailed instructions to the mixing engineer, what do you want to be done in that mix. So this is another part. After you have your files, make sure that you write everything in details, because usually when you are hiring somebody for a mixing, he will send you the first version and then you will have 3 more takes. After that you will need to start paying again. So okay, I tried to make this video really fast and to edit it this way, just because I didn't spoke about something really complicated, and I just wanted to share with you my view on this point. And also next week I'm gonna announce that I'm gonna start making the mixing and mastering, as well as some of the sound design services for you, and also some of the mentorship, like I can go a little bit deeper in analyzing your tracks, maybe giving you some advices. But I'm gonna write and explain everything in one of the following videos, when I'm gonna write what these services are and how much they cost and how we can do this. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and I really hope that you like this video. See you soon. Bye. Ciao.